Welcome back to the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Greg. I'm joined by my co-host, Dave. It was a weird week 3, but I'm okay with getting weird sometimes. How was your weekend, Dave?
Weird. Yeah, it was weird. Not just because of NFL, but some weird. Well, I guess that's NFL, but fantasy stuff was all over the place. Weird that I thought the Cowboys were going to do something and they didn't. So just a weird, wacky weekend.
We had drama. We had NFL games coming down to blocked kicks. We had an all-time crazy cover by the Philadelphia Eagles after it looked like our models all over the Rams was the right side for 59 and a half minutes. Sometimes This is a good reminder that sports are weird. Things can get crazy. And we'll take you through everything from week 3 that we took as takeaways. We'll also preview Thursday Night Football and plenty more for week 4 and beyond. But let's look backwards first, Dave. Let's go through all of our takeaways from week 3. You can go first. What do you got?
Just some of the weirdness. Falcons getting drubbed by probably the most surprising of opponents in the Panthers, who showed a little bit of spark in a couple games, but absolutely took the Falcons out behind the woodshed and beat them pretty badly. 4-2-0 teams went down, notably all in the NFC. The AFC's perfect teams stayed perfect. Right before this podcast, we almost got the breaking news on Jackson Dart being named the starter over Russell Wilson, and throwing him right into the fire versus the Chargers. So I don't know if this is going to save Brian Daboll's job or just make things worse, but keep your eyes out for our first predictions on dimers.com this week when those update. Some pretty notable injuries across the league. We'll get into some of those today, some on Thursday's episode. CeeDee Lamb's got a high ankle sprain. James Conner and Najee Harris both getting, fortunately, worse season-ending injuries. Which is too bad. And some pretty nice awards movement and a couple of awards that we've talked about on here pretty briefly. We are not an awards show. We don't have an awards model, but we can use the data and our own NFL knowledge to try and help us find something here. Herbert MVP, I got at 2,200. Talked about it, I think, at plus 1,400. He's down to plus 600 as of last night when I looked. I didn't even check this morning. Bit of a decent third behind Lamar and Josh Allen at plus 250 or so where they're at, but Love is plus 1,400 and fourth. So it's a pretty clear 3-man race in that award right now. Puka Offensive Player of the Year, he's down to plus 750 from plus 1,500. Over 100 total games in every, over 100 total yards in every game so far. He does need to get some of those touchdowns to really cut into Jonathan Taylor's lead, who's at plus 450. But he's well in the race. And I'll just tease that we're going to do a little awards segment here, I believe, on next week's episode. A couple picks that we like around the league for some of the awards that are starting to take shape, and hopefully help you guys find a little value in that as well.
Yep. 3-horse race, it seems like, for MVP right now, as Herbert continues to inch closer to that duo at the top of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Weird week for Lamar this week in the Monday night game as well. I don't know. I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory going that he's not 100% because he did not want to take off running the way we've seen throughout his entire career. It was like he was hesitant, and he'd have a linebacker, Anzalone, on an island and just kind of wait a little bit. Now, I think the Lions defense showed up, but I don't know. I'm kind of holding out that there might be something going on with Lamar. Josh Allen's going to be hard to chase down, but I do think the door is open for Mr. Josh Herbert, who's sort of the narrative winner of the NFL early on this season. So as Dave alluded, we will do some more award talk, see if there is any serious value a week from today. Stay tuned for that. For now, let's play a little game here. I asked you to bring 2 big questions that we want answered, and we'll introduce the questions today. Then we'll come back on the second episode later this week on Thursday and answer these questions based on our models updates. So we both have 2 here, 4 total. We can alternate as we go. Give me your first question.
Yes, so mine is probably not a burning one, but it's one I do think we want to know. Are the Eagles the team to beat in the NFC? Yeah, they're the reigning champs, so maybe this is like a duh, of course. But, the top of the NFC's looked not like there's a clear runaway, really, and it's been pretty competitive so far. The Rams look good. I mean, that game was in their hands at the very end. freaky, one of the worst bad beats ever. If you're on the Rams side of that spread to swing that whole game. Bucks are 3-0. Lions look as good as ever since week 1. So there is some talent atop this NFC that could make this a lot closer than, of course, the Super Bowl champs are the team to beat. They haven't really looked like world beaters yet, though week 3 was by far their most complete game. Jalen Hurts tossed 3 touchdowns, rushed for 1. They finally got that passing game going, which I've been talking about for the first couple weeks on here. I'm surprised his MVP case isn't higher on the sports books. Could be some big value there at plus 2,200. This might be something we revisit next week. But 2 games with 150 or fewer passing yards and no touchdowns in those games will do that to your MVP case when you have Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. And as we talked about, Justin Herbert just making his case early. They almost lost this game, yes, but it was, as I said, against their best competition yet. Good teams find ways to win close games. That's the reality. You're rarely going to win them all, and you will lose some, and you're going to win some dirty wins. And that's kind of what this ended up being. A.J. Brown came alive. Their big 3 receiving options of him, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert all scored. So, they're looking like the team to beat. I'll see what the model says. They were atop the NFC previously, but we'll see what they have for the Rams and Lions after some and the Bucs after some week 3 developments. But I do need to see some of that vintage Saquon Barkley. He's been all right, but I need my 150 yards, my 2 touchdowns for the sake of my fantasy teams and just for pretty much everybody. We want to see that. Come on. We love it.
Yeah. Or at least give us some hurdles. Give us something. Where's the highlight moments, Saquon? I'm waiting.
Sideways upside down hurdles this year, perhaps.
Yeah, where are we? The Eagles, I mean, you got to take the crown, right? Nobody can say they're the champs until you beat the champs, and nobody's been able to beat the champs. I am looking at them a little bit sideways personally right now. Just thought it was a complete luck, fortune moment to win that Rams game. I mean, they should be 2-1 right now. I can't believe they stole it out from under them. In the end, block kick, running back for the touchdown in the cover. Heartbreaking moment if you had the Rams as I did. But regardless of that, I think the Eagles' 3-0 record is a little more impressive than the eye test with them. We'll see if the model agrees. I'm excited to come back to that one in a couple days. I'm going to turn to a different NFC team here. I want to know if the Tampa Bay Bucks are for real. 3-0 start. For the first time in years. They've had a bunch of 2-0 starts, but they always lose in week 3 whenever that happens. They tried their hardest to blow this game in week 3 against the Jets, but Baker Mayfield, man, 4th quarter, 2 minutes left, doesn't matter. If you need 70 yards for field goal range, Baker will get you there. He's just a gamer. He's one of the more underappreciated players, I think, in NFL history, honestly. At this point, I feel comfortable saying that. This is a guy that I think you can win a lot of games with and possibly make deep playoff runs. And this kind of ties into your speculation with the Eagles or what I was hinting at. But I think we're in a moment in time here as we all come to terms with the fact that the Chiefs have taken a sizable step backwards. I mean, our model tried to tell us that in the preseason, right? It's wide open. I mean, it is wide open. Even if the defending champs are the team to beat, even if it's the Ravens and the Bills, 2 teams we love and have loved for 5 years, those teams have never been the teams to get it done. Philly's great, but they look vulnerable too. I think the door is open for some surprise contenders, and the Bucs are probably at the top of my list right now. They're sitting pretty in the NFC South, a division where every other team is either 1-2 or 0-3. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to try and talk me into Atlanta causing any issues for Tampa Bay after a bagel this week. So I think they're going to coast to a division title, but I am curious. Is the model buying into the Bucs anywhere beyond just in the NFC South? Because there could be some value on jumping in at them at the right time here, especially if we think they can win enough games, maybe sweep the division and end up with a very nice seed come playoff time. But we'll see what the model thinks on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a great one, Greg. I would not be concerned about anyone in that division. They're certainly probably going to cruise. Not all the most convincing wins here. Some of them have come, I think all of them in the final minute of the game. But as we said, good teams find ways to win. And the Bucs are doing that early. So my next one, it's kind of funny here. I think we all focused on 3-0 teams, but I think that's kind of interesting because it doesn't feel like, aside from the Bills, that almighty 3-0 team is here. So we want a lot of questions answered about these 3-0 squads. And mine is, what is the ceiling for the Colts? Similar to what you said about the Bucs. They're 3-0 in a weak division, which is a good thing. You want to see some really quality wins here, but beating up on bad teams is important, especially if you want to get a bye, if that's going to be in play for them come the playoffs. Everyone is resurgent on this team. They have a coach of the year, comeback player of the year, and offensive player of the year candidate through 3 games. They've scored almost 30 plus, 29 points in week 2 in each game. They've got a pretty easy schedule for the rest of the season. Their toughest opponents, I think, by far are the Rams and Chargers, then the Chiefs, then another tier down with the Cardinals and Texans. And I'm probably being generous with the Texans. I think I had this in my notes before they just lost again, but they do have the good defense. They're a strong favorite to win the division in the Dimers model, over 38% before week 3. That's surely going up now. Are they made for the playoffs? First round, second round, AFC Championship? Won't play anyone of the Ravens-Bills caliber really until the playoffs. So that's a big problem, kind of. They're going to enter the postseason, except for the Chargers, who I think maybe you could put in that tier, but I still think they're kind of, let's see. They're not going to play any truly great team, I think, that you would say on paper right now this season, which could be a wake-up call in the postseason. So I'd like to see what the model thinks for them in the bigger picture, because the AFC South is basically a wrap, it seems like. Jaguars are right behind them at 2-1, but the difference between these two teams seems pretty clear. So if there's some value here in the AFC market or even the Super Bowl, it's something to take a look at.
Yep. And for my last one here, I'm going to go back to a team that we've kind of mentioned throughout the opening of this episode, but it is the Chargers. I think the breakout story of the league right now, Herbert obviously entering that realm of MVP possibilities here. Also did suffer the brutal injury to Najee Harris this week. Now, he's their running back 2. So in a weird way, as tragic as it sounds, does that just mean more workload for a better running back? Possibly.
Probably.
I think there could be some fantasy implications there and possibly some good things for the Chargers offense if more runs through the first stringer. But, they're sitting pretty in this division, just like all the teams that we've discussed here are. The Chargers at 3-0 in the AFC West. Coming into this week, our model had them right around a coin flip to win the division. It was priced fairly at around plus 105 coming into week 3. They took care of business again. I do think it's time to put them in the top tier just in terms of could they win it all. But I'm curious where the model can lead us to value on the Chargers with, because it is one of those situations. You got to be smart on how you bet it. You don't want to bet the team at the wrong moment where you're almost, buying in high and all of a sudden they suffer a loss and you could have waited a week and gotten some plus money. Chargers are very good. There's no doubt about that. I think they're right on the verge of maybe top 5 in the NFL status, and similar to the Bucs and the team you just talked about as well here. There's a lot of teams 3-0 in bad divisions right now. They're not all going to run the table and end up, 9-0, 10-0, 10 weeks from now. There's going to be fluctuation in the standings and really the right time to invest in a team. So I'm hoping the model can help us sort through this. I think we've covered reasons to believe in the Chargers at length at this point, but hopefully we'll have some new intel by Thursday later this week. Reminder, you need to get Dimers Pro so that you can get access to our futures updates all season long. We always reference it on the program, but when our model updates, we'll bring you the latest information. However, this model is going to update in between the time that we're recording this episode right now and the time that we come back on the program for episode 2 this week on Thursday. So if you want real-time updates, you just got to join Dimers Pro. You see the football season pass promo code football on the banner on the bottom of the screen right now. Go to dimers.com/subscription so that you don't miss out on any of the real-time updates this season. All right, it is time for Should Have Bet That. Let's take a look back at some of the bets that we presented to you last week.
Should have bet that.
We got.
All right, so we'll spend a pretty quick amount of time on this. We don't want to dwell on anything, not because we don't have any winners to show, but we all want to get looking ahead. So real quick, we talked about on Thursday Night Football, Dalton Kincaid, sneaky little play as the tight end in a vulnerable matchup. And he came through. He hit the ladder, 40, 50, 60 plus. He cashed his over, obviously. He cashed the touchdown. He almost got us the first touchdown jackpot, but he got the second touchdown of the game. So no good there. And it was almost a very huge Thursday Night Football night, if not for the Dolphins giving the ball to Ollie Gordon on the 2-yard line. And then seemingly never A-chain again in the red zone through 3 tries. We would have cashed our SGP in the second quarter, but it wasn't meant to be, and that's okay. We'll be back with another Thursday Night Football same game parlay on the next episode, so keep your eyes out for that. Our best bets on the week went 2-1. Could have been a sweep if not for the aforementioned Rams blocked field goal for a touchdown. That was looking really good. We got the Jordan Mason touchdown. The Browns spread, that was probably an eyebrow raiser to a lot of viewers and perhaps bettors. Almost sweat-free. It was a little close at the end, but I mean, they came out and they won the game outright. Showed up, showed the Packers the classic upset spot that we talked about. So the Dimers best bets that we're featuring on this podcast are doing really well. We, again, blocked kick from sweeping this past week. Touchdown props. We didn't talk about these on the podcast, but this is something you can find on dimers.com. Pretty great for the top 5 in the NFL. They go 4-1, all plus money hits. Most of them not even top candidate on these teams. Cam Scadaboo, who we talked about at length, taking over the backfield. Got a little fortuitous with the injury to Tyrone Tracy, but he still took over as we expected. Kenneth Gainwell, Quinshon Judkins, the rookie, and Kareem Hunt all finding the end zone. So pretty nice week for the running backs on dimers.com. You can find these TD props every single week. Just go into NFL props page. You can filter by touchdown. You can filter by Dimer signal, high value, which is what we have here. And you'll find what you're looking for week to week. Similarly, touchdown props in college have been pretty spicy the last 2 weeks. I'll swap between these pretty quickly. This is week 3. All the touchdown props on site that were both high value and tutty threat. So strong edge and tutty threat, which you see for guys over 50%, I believe. I would actually have to double check the cutoff, but you can find it right on Dimers. 7 out of 9. I think this is in week 3. And in week 4, 4-2 and a push. So all pretty good, almost all plus money. Again, if you're betting these as straights, you're looking really good. If you bet a parlay, maybe you got lucky and paired the right ones. I did not. I had 4 or 5 in week 3. Missed the guy in Miami, Malachi Toney, but that's okay. That's why we recommend straight betting usually, and we look for the value. But go on Dimers, look for the signals. That's where the model is running pretty hot right now in both college and NFL.
Gotta love it. Love it. Yep. Prop betting, very fun way to bet football. Of course, the model can help you find the best props each week. Make sure you take advantage. I got to go back to Kincaid quickly because I was all over a Kincaid ladder on Thursday Night Football. I had Kincaid to score 2 touchdowns too, and he just left us short. He got to the goal line once. He dropped the ball in the end zone. It was a good defensive play, but Dave, he was so close to 3 touchdowns. He came away with 1. It was still a profitable night. He cashed all the yardage overs and got in the end zone once. But I don't know. I may have retired from all obligations had he found the end zone a second time. So I guess for the sake of this podcast, it's a good thing that didn't happen. But I was enjoying that. Okay, we are going to go to some spread picks for week 4. Now, reminder, this is early. This is an early glance. We're just going to take you through the model here, but we will go through our top 5 spread picks. Let's get right to them.
The early edge.
All right, so our first down week for the top 5, I believe last week, they went 2-3 overall, 7-9 on the week. Still a positive return on the year, 27-21 through 3 weeks. If you're using these in a Pick'ems league, that should have you pretty high up there. It's got us 4th in ours in the Pick'em contest in the Discord. and it's, I think, the 86th percentile in the overall on ESPN's platform ranking. So pretty good stuff if you're following the picks. There will be some down weeks as to be expected, but overall positive, and see if we could bounce back in week 4. I'll pull them up real quick, and first I'll just run through the top 5, and then after that we'll kind of discuss each game a little bit. So overall, we got Bucks plus 3.5 versus the Eagles at 58.9%, followed by the Colts plus 3.5 at the Rams, also 58.9%. Steelers plus 2.5 versus the Vikings, 58.2%. Falcons plus 2.5 versus the Commanders, 58.2%. And Bengals plus 7.5 at the Broncos, 58.4%. So if we go back to the top spreads have been pretty good so far. The models like the Bucks quite a bit this season. It's worked out every time they've been underdogs. I think they covered I think they were minus 1.5 in the game they were favored, and they won that. They found a way, as we said, to almost lose, but win all 3 of these games so far, winning in the final minute in each one. This is going to be their toughest matchup for sure with the Eagles. They'll be without Mike Evans with a hamstring injury for at least a couple weeks.
Egbuka, that could open the door for my guy Emeka.
Yeah. We might actually be talking about him as offensive rookie of the year too late next week. So who knows? Godwin could be back, but I doubt he'll be 100%. So yeah, I mean, if there's an Egbuka spot, it's this one. The Eagles haven't really shut anybody down in the passing game so far. So, definitely up there. I'm sure you like this, Greg, but getting it at 3.5 instead of 3, which it is on some books, is pretty important. So pretty good top spread here. I don't know. Me personally, I'm staying away from fading the Eagles too much. I feel like it's going to bite me if I keep doing it, but the model's got a pretty good shot here. So if you get the edge, which we have, it's probably worth your time.
Yeah, at bare minimum, that's an early glance at 2 of the questions we had, right? What's really going on with Philly at 3-0, but flirting with disaster in a couple kind of ugly games? And then are we buying Tampa? Yeah, it seems we are buying Tampa right now. I love the key number, as you said. I'm also looking at this Colts number right now because I'm looking at the screen. We've got our little studio here on the episode we're recording. I also have a laptop up with the model's best bets that update in real time, and not to expose you or anything here, but this has already moved a little bit. Colts up to +4, which takes the probability from 58% up to 65% for the Colts. If you like the Colts, obviously you love the line movement here, but that's another interesting spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. You always want to check the real-time probabilities. We pull this stuff together before the show, so there's bound to be sometimes discrepancies. But yeah, I mean, you're getting an extra half a point, a full point outside the key number. This is the only road team in this top 5, so they probably like that extra half a point if you don't really like road dogs. Similar to the Bucks, this is going to be the really first big test for the Colts against the Rams. We definitely want to avoid a 2-2 start after the walk-off loss. Only allowed 1 rushing TD. That's the Rams, which is going to be key for them to slow down Jonathan Taylor. So you got to be a little hesitant there. The Colts have really leaned on Jonathan Taylor a lot. Not to say that Daniel Jones hasn't looked good in the passing game, which he has. And the Rams did finally let the Eagles open up that passing game a lot, though. So if you're on the Rams side, I'd be a little concerned against a revitalized Daniel Jones. And I think this might stand out to me as a more preferable pick compared to the Bucks one.
I think I'm with you on that. I think I like both, to be honest with you, though. I mean, again, both at a number that I like. If it was 2.5, I'd certainly have a little pause. But man, I'm just buying both the Colts and the Bucks as really, really good football teams and sneaky contenders. And I think also both these teams too, just mental, emotional edge here. I think they're going to view these games as sort of prove it games, right? An opportunity to get the Rams or a team like the Eagles. And if you buy, they have some substance to back it up. Certainly with the Colts offense. I mean, it was the most time in a season that a team went without punting in NFL history through 3
Yeah,
weeks. That's an
one
absurd
punt.
stat to say out loud. It's crazy.
One punt. That guy's getting paid to just show up.
It's absolutely absurd. And like after all the turmoil in the offseason too of the decision to go to Daniel Jones and to deliver the offense into a spot where they're already that successful, I think there's substance here. The only problem, I do think that both the Rams and Eagles are teams that the model has liked through 3 weeks too, which is interesting to me. Sometimes I feel like there's a couple teams that the model rarely wants to fade. I would consider both the Eagles and Rams in that bucket, but hey, value is value. And if this line for the Colts is going to keep going up, I mean, I'm certainly going to be playing it at 4 or higher. What else do we got here? Steelers plus 2.5 next.
Yep. I think it's a little surprising to see the Steelers as home dogs here. At least 2.5. I feel like it feels like a much closer matchup on paper. Vikings lit it up last week, heavily aided by the Bengals' 5 turnovers, though. Steelers won a really sloppy game by the Patriots, who also had 5 turnovers, so it shouldn't have been as close. So I guess if you're looking at which team can win the 5 turnover game, probably the opponent better, then I guess sure it's the Vikings. But yeah, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers has looked pretty Aaron Rodgers of late. Not crazy good, not turning back the clock, but he hasn't looked outright terrible either, as he had sometimes in his Jets tenure. I probably would lean the home team. Although they didn't lose TJ Watt. That's the 49ers who lost Bosa. So yeah, I don't know. This is probably just a general stay away from me. Vikings still don't totally know what we're going to get with Carson Wentz against a more formidable team, but Model's got a pretty strong opinion here and has it as a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Minnesota, man. I don't. Now, like, give them credit for just a statement, shut everybody up, everything's fine without JJ McCarthy performance last week, but let's not forget, Cincy without Joe Burrow is just a wounded animal. And that was abundantly obvious. The Vikings defense made a bazillion great plays in that game, but it was an unrepeatable game script is what I would say. A lot of fortunate turnover-driven plays. So, I tend to believe Minnesota is a franchise that can weather the storm of injury, especially at quarterback, given what happened last year. The Steelers are not a team that I've loved eye test wise this season whatsoever. So I'm at least mildly surprised to see that the model likes Pittsburgh here. Reminder too, I believe this is one of the Europe games, correct? This is not a home game.
Do we have 2 of those this week? Or is
Maybe
this,
am I totally off base on this?
No, we do have one. I can't remember which one it is. The Dublin game.
Sunday, 9:30 a.m.
Yep, that would be this. Yeah. So you have that then to factor in, I guess, a good bit.
Yeah, I don't know. That game is so weird to me. It's probably another sit back and watch the data point, but that's personal conjecture. The model is telling you the Steelers have some value. Falcons, another team at 2.5 here. Again, I hate the 2.5 number. Dave, can we get this up to 3?
Yeah, I would like to. I'd probably be a lot more keen on it there, as I'm sure the model would too, especially for a Falcons team that looks like an absolute mess lately. The Commanders didn't seem to miss a beat without Jaden Daniels. Mariota did exactly what they needed him to do and what he has done in relief for them before. I think he's up to 6 total touchdowns and like 4 relief or backup appearances for the Commanders dating back to the end of last season. But yeah, he passed and rushed for a touchdown. Their defense didn't look super great of the Commanders. They let the Raiders hang in there, gave up some pretty explosive plays, 45 plus and 61 plus, I believe. But Michael Penix Jr. doesn't really look like he knows what he's doing. Does have the makings of a close game, but I'm not very confident in the Falcons right now. And outside of Bijan Robinson, there's not a lot of players to get excited about in that offense. To much to his chagrin, because he would be probably in that Offensive Player of the Year conversation if the Falcons were competitive. Yeah,
Penix, man, arm talent is there. Like, I enjoy watching Atlanta on a week-to-week basis. Last week just seemed so, I don't know. I don't want to say unorthodox or out of the ordinary, but it's like they got down and just quit midway through that game. And if that had happened to like a good proven team, say you just get stomped and blanked by like Buffalo or Philadelphia, it's like, okay, that happened. Shake it off. To have that happen to Carolina is a relatively major red flag to me. If we can't figure out anything against the Panthers, I am wondering how they're going to emotionally bounce back. But on the flip side, it's your traditional bounce back from a near disaster performance spot. And I think Washington, too, given the quarterback health concerns, is in a favorable spot to fade. On the flip side, Washington, I think, performed about as good as humanly possible without Jaden Daniels last week. So you're kind of, if you're playing the value game, buying Atlanta as low as possible, selling Washington possibly as high as possible, at least while you're having Jaden Daniels issues added together. Spot-wise, the Sharps would probably tell you Atlanta's a good side. One more early top 5 value play against the spread, and it's another good football number. The Bengals catching 7.5 in Denver. What do we think here?
I hope the bosses don't ream me out for this one, but this is a tough one for me to get behind. I know you like the number, but the Bengals were just downright awful. And like you said, they look like a wounded animal without Joe Burrow. They fumbled 3 times in the span of 2 minutes and 20 seconds of game clock. That takes skill, honestly. The Broncos could easily be 3-0. Their losses have all been very close. If you're in need of a get-right game for Denver, who definitely want to flip the script before things get late early, it probably would be this one against a very uninspiring, backed-up Bengals team. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I just probably wouldn't touch this game. I'll obviously ride with the Dimers model pick in our pick'ems. I don't put in my personal bias in there, but for me, I don't know. I just wouldn't touch the spread here.
Yeah, you can't feel confident putting anything behind Cincy right now. Now, the number itself might be enough for me to debate it because I have enjoyed fading Denver a little bit. Honestly, I'll give you like little personal intel. The Denver Super Bowl breakout stuff, I haven't seen it. I just don't see it with this team at all. Bo Nix is a fun player to watch, but I think there are some losing habits with that franchise right now. The problem is no franchise loses more than Cincinnati when they don't have Joe Burrow. So I don't know. This will be a game that's probably on the third of my 4 TVs if I can get NFL Sunday Ticket up in the basement. And the only way I'll be really tuned in is if I do end up convincing myself 7.5 is a play, but we'll see. I'm iffy on it, at least on Tuesday. Maybe I'll change my mind by Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, let's take an early look at Thursday night football. This week, we have the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, 2 teams with a 2-1 record. However, if you've paid attention, the paths that they have taken to getting here have been quite different. Seattle just throttled the New Orleans Saints, felt like a real get right and, I don't know, announce that we're still here moment for a Seahawks team that's been in a transitionary period. On the flip side, the Cardinals had to survive and did not survive, came up short against the 49ers. It looked like they were going to sneak away to a 3-0 start. It didn't happen. Now, James Conner is the name to discuss because we think this may be a career-ending injury for James Conner, as tragic as that sounds. Just brutal. Carted off. We had Cardinals teammates basically tweeting in support of James Conner after the game. I think it was it's Benson, the running back that's taking over, who was like, I got you, 6. So who knows? Maybe there will be a little bit of a galvanizing come-together moment for Arizona this week, but we shall see. What does the model tell us as far as early looks where the value is?
Yeah, so spread is in favor of the Cardinals at -1. This was a pick'em on Caesars this morning. It's up to plus 1.5 on a couple other books. So a decent bit of varying lines here. Obviously important depending what side you want to take. So this has swung a little bit, even just this morning. The Dimers model favors the Cardinals on the spread pretty strongly here, 55% to 45%, almost even money on the Cardinals there. So there's definitely going to be some value there when we check out the best bets. Over under 50-50 split. You're getting better odds to the over here. As you can see, almost even money on that. So if you are taking a side based on value alone, it would be that, but there is not an outright edge here, as we'd like to see plus 100 on either side to get some actual fair odds from the model. And the money line, not too much different than the spread, given how slim it is. 58% for Arizona, 42% for Seattle. And if you look at the odds between two different books, almost the exact same price. So that should tell you that not even one singular book is aligned with another on this game. We take a look at our best bets. Like we said, you won't find any value here on the total. And if we go by edge and probability, actually, both of them, the best bet in this game is on the Cardinals money line. You get a 6.6% edge with our probability of 58.1%. So model's got a clear lean here. I don't love this one, to be honest, in like a quick turnaround for a team that's got to adjust to losing James Conner. Kyler Murray's passed for 159 and 163 in two of his games, and now the run game has taken a big hit. So kind of wondering what the offense is going to do at all. Sam Darnold's led the Seahawks to 31 and 44 points in past two games, as the complete opposite flip side of that. And if, let's take a look here. I actually put this in my notes. Like if you look at the probability, like the probabilities to score touchdowns here, the model is so much more in favor of the Seahawks simply to get in the end zone on any individual player than the Cardinals here. Marvin Harrison at 33.9% would be the Seahawks' fourth best touchdown probability here. So that tells me a good bit about, while the model may be finding the Cardinals covering this number, which continues to move, fluctuate between a pick 'em and 1.5. It may be finding them covering that often in the simulations, but in the nitty gritty of the game, it doesn't bode very well for the Cardinals.
I don't know what to do with the Cardinals. Like, without James Conner, doesn't it just feel like a totally different group? I don't know what to expect. I would have thought that with a pick'em spread, the model would like Seattle, to be honest. But that's why I'm not the model. And maybe I'm just overestimating Connor's impact. But he's just so steady. He's done it for decades at this point. I'm a little surprised by this, Dave.
We may not even be seeing the full impact here. Come Wednesday, Thursday, especially Thursday, right before the game, the model's kind of settled in and run even more updated simulations with the line. If the line moves further and settles in at a different number, we might get an even more definitive look. But just for me personally, I just think the Cardinals are hitting a tough spot here. It's a divisional game. Those are always, especially in the NFC West, really gritty, dirty games. Look at yesterday, 16-15 for the 49ers. What kind of score is that? It's an NFC West score, and this could be something similar. And I just think the caliber of team here is pretty different. So,
yeah, I think I agree with you. I feel like, again, it's early. This is why I like the NFL, because you can do your research on a Monday, Tuesday, and then kind of let your thoughts settle and come back and get tactical as you get closer to Thursday. For me, my early read on this is that I'm going to be looking to a lot of player props here. I'm going to do my best to convince myself to stay away from the 1-point spread either way. I won't be stunned if either side wins this game. And as far as running back injuries go, probably should remind ourselves too, Charbonnet is rumored to be back for Seattle in this game, which, if you've paid too much attention to Seattle this year, they've been by far their most dangerous when Kenneth Walker has been exploding on the ground. And in week 1, Charbonnet got the bell cow touches. In week 2, it was more of a split, and he looked hobbled. In week 3, Charbonnet was out, and Kenneth Walker found the end zone. So I'm unsure with running back situations on both sides. A lot of questions, but if you have injury questions, sometimes that's where you can find the most value in terms of player props, depending on who you're targeting. So you're highlighting Trey Benson here. Is that where you're leaning from a prop outlook?
Where I'm scrolling, yeah, Trey Benson. Obviously, it's the storyline of the game. We'll talk about him very briefly in our upcoming waiver wire segment. But he's projected for 64 rushing yards in the lead role, 27.3% anytime TD probability. That compares to a previous average of 34.6 rushing yards in our projections over the first 3 games, and under a 15% anytime TD probability. So as you would expect, you're seeing his numbers go up with an expected workload increase. What he delivers in that role remains to be seen. He's kind of been battling against backfield committees his whole career. So this is legitimately his first crack at leading this. And aside from Kyler Murray, I don't think he's going to run into very much competition from Amari DiMercato. One other thing I want to look at is just the Seahawks receiving core. Jackson Smith-Njigba is obviously a very, very clear wide receiver 1 in this offense, almost 100 yards, just shy in 3 straight games. But beyond that, Cooper Kupp, not really done much, hasn't found the end zone. Torrey Horton, touchdowns in back-to-back weeks, fewer targets, but is emerging here as an actual contending target threat in this offense. And with Cooper Kupp not really doing much, and Jackson Smith-Njigba running away with the 1 role, wide receiver 2 is pretty open here. You'd like to see him get some more targets, but Torrey Horton, maybe a little deep cut waiver wire ad or free agent ad. Look at him for touchdowns. You know what? Actually, I think I saw something earlier. Let's see. The updates could get me here, but look at that.
Oh, you love when a plan comes together, Dave. That was so
for those of you listening, we have an edge on Torrey Horton as a pretty high prop value in this game, which is kind of ironically just above Cooper Kupp at 2+ touchdowns. That's only 6%. So, obviously a big long shot there. But Torrey Horton, touchdown, back-to-back weeks, 23.1% here at plus 390. A quick math, I think those fair odds would be about 320. So you're getting a value there. And something to watch this week for sure. Torrey Horton's role in this offense.
Yeah,
and I think
Horton's fun.
Go ahead, Greg.
Horton's fun. I just wanted to add, he was at Colorado State in college, and it was one of those stay up late, watch the Mountain West game that kicks off at 11 p.m. just to get a chance at betting Torrey Horton 2 touchdowns at Colorado State. He's dynamic. They've used him on special teams a little bit too, and he almost broke one last week. So I feel like usually, especially with an early in their career guy, a rookie or something like that, I feel like when teams are clearly going out of their way to find creative ways to get a player the ball, that usually bodes really well for role expansion, opportunity, all of that. And that's been true with Horton through the early start to the season for sure. It looks like Seattle just cannot scheme enough ways to involve him, whether it's special teams or offense or whatever. I don't know that I would go so far as to frame it as he's going to cut into Kupp's workload. I do like him as an end zone threat more than Kupp personally. Now, Kupp is also still very involved in this, but it feels like for whatever reason with Darnold, they just haven't found that sort of chemistry in the red zone whatsoever. And Kupp's not exactly a big lob threat type. So to me, Torrey's got big playability from all over the field, whether you're trying to break an 80-yard return or whether you're trying to find a guy in the red zone. There's plenty of ways to see him impact the game and score. I love that the model loves this because I also love this. And if he is on your waiver wire, shame on your fantasy league. At this point, you got to stash this guy, especially if you're in a keepers league. So check it out. You heard it from Dave and you heard it from the model. Dimers Pro, reminder, you need to get it because it gives you insights into Thursday night football and every other game on the NFL slate all season long. Make sure you take advantage. We're already into week 4. The season is flying by. You're not going to want to miss it. It can help you win some money just the way it's helped us this season. I feel like we need some music for this one, Dave, because it's my favorite moment of the episode. It's time for the College Corner.
Play his song.
College Corner.
All right, so I love college football. I love betting college football on this very program, and I love comparing my personal card to the model's personal card, which is exactly what I have done this week yet again. And the first play on the card this week is Ole Miss on the money line against LSU. Now, I'm going to get a little weird here. We said this was a weird moment in the NFL, weird week looking back. It's weird on the internet right now with Ole Miss and LSU because Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin has a daughter who just hard launched a relationship with an LSU linebacker. This is a real story. This is not fake. Now, Lane Kiffin commented and played playfully on social media because somebody screenshotted this post and was just like, wow, might be time to back Ole Miss with some motivation here to get back at the LSU player. And Lane Kiffin said, bet the over. So that's how Ole Miss's head coach is joking about this publicly. That's not reason enough for me to want to side with Ole Miss. Reason enough for me to want to side with Ole Miss is this. They've had a quarterback change that I don't think the market has caught up to yet. Trinidad Chambliss is a dual threat that actually started at a non-Division I school called Ferris State here in the state of Michigan. I've known about him for years because he's just been lighting it up at the non-Division I level. He transferred and got a big payday to go to the SEC and Ole Miss, but he was expected to be the backup quarterback. Injuries to the starter opened the door. He stepped right in and has been sensational. He led Ole Miss in rushing last week, almost 150 rushing yards last week. He can throw the ball through the air. He's a true dynamic dual threat. And I think LSU, you know, Brian Kelly's track record in big games has always been a question for LSU. He's never been at his brightest in the regular season. They survived a big test earlier this year already. Remember that Florida game? DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions, and it was the one loser on our 4-pick card that week. I feel like maybe this is just a little revenge, but Chambliss has been a lot better under center for Ole Miss than Lagway was at Florida. I think LSU is vulnerable, and the model agrees with me, a 60% probability that Ole Miss comes out as the winner in this game, and it's basically a pick 'em against the spread. Ole Miss is -1.5 right now, so rather than cover 1 point, just in case you get something fluky, I'm all over Ole Miss money line as well. Going into my second game here, I'm going to stay in the SEC, and I have a reputation a little bit as a big game bettor. If it's a game that I'm just going to enjoy watching, I'm certainly looking for a way to bet on it. And that's not always the wisest way to bet. A lot of times the biggest values on the board are some of the games you're least excited to watch. This week, one of the biggest values on the board is a game everyone wants to watch, and it's Georgia-Alabama. Now, Alabama was exposed against Florida State early this season. They've recovered extremely nicely since then. But in their one game against a quality opponent, they looked lifeless. They looked like they had no answers. They have a game manager quarterback type that just wasn't dynamic enough to make plays through the air. And they were making mental mistakes that a Nick Saban team never would. We're into year 2 of the Kalen DeBoer era. And the discipline that we've come to know and love with Alabama has just sort of disappeared. That doesn't happen with Georgia, at least on the field, right? Kirby Smart's teams are as talented as can be, as disciplined as can be, as locked in as can be. It really is a coach that has won a national championship, has gone toe-to-toe with Nick Saban and beaten him, still at the height of his powers. I think the coaching mismatch is the number one thing I'm looking at here for Georgia to potentially beat Alabama. But I also will take Georgia just under center. I think they've got a better quarterback, some better skill position players as well from what we've seen. The eye test has not put Georgia in danger once this season, the way Alabama was against Florida State. So the model agrees. Now we're laying some juice here. -150 is the best odds you can get. Our model's got a 64% probability that Georgia wins this game. That still gives this a 4% edge at minus 150. I'm going to be adding that as well, possibly looking to maybe juice it up with some parlays here too. I'm a big parlay better with college football, and use Georgia money line as sort of the centerpiece of a parlay. Spice it up with a couple huge favorites elsewhere, other plays that the model finds high value, get you to a plus money ticket that only needs maybe 2 or 3 legs max to win. But I think Georgia's a great play this week. And then lastly, I'll give you one more huge game. It's a great college football card if you can't tell. Oregon on the road at Penn State. Now, I think the Ducks have been the best team in the country from pure eye test this season. They've embarrassed some opponents, some 60, 70 point type wins where they're just blitzing teams. The last couple weeks for Oregon have been a little more reined in, but I would argue it's because they've been getting into the conference season and preparing for a game like this. They've taken care of business in road trips and back home in the rivalry game against Oregon State last week. They didn't earn the style points some wanted them to, but Dante Moore's looked incredible under center. Oregon has just a bevy of running backs that they kind of use a committee-based approach, but there's 5 or 6 guys that would start on almost every other team in the country. Decorian Moore is a name I want people to remember. He's the number 1 recruit in the country, the best freshman. He's not Jeremiah Smith good, but remember last year around this point in the season is when Jeremiah Smith went from, oh, he's talented to, oh my gosh, we haven't seen a receiver like him. Decorian Moore is starting to emerge in that fashion as well. This is going to be a big statement opportunity for him in a whiteout on the road, the toughest environment in the country to play at. But I don't know that Penn State's secondary has an answer for Decorian Moore. James Franklin, another coach that historically it's been fun to fade in big games. Dan Lanning, you can't say the same for. He's one of the best coaches in the country. I think we're getting a key football number here, plus 3.5. Our model agrees 56% probability that the Ducks emerge victorious, a 4% edge. I'm locking in all 3 of these as my early college football card. And again, find me 3 better games to watch, let alone bet on this season. And I think you might be lying to me, Dave.
Yeah, wonderful analysis as always, Greg. I think you kind of hit it there too. When you get a good game inherently already to watch, it makes the betting that much better. If you like these games, we've got edges on a couple other markets. Unsurprisingly, we've got the spread for Ole Miss and Georgia and the money line for Oregon if you like the upset outright. So check the value there on dimers.com. You'll find a little bit more insights from other markets in these games.
Yes, sir. You heard the man. Okay, it is time to talk Dave's favorite portion of the week. We just hit mine with the college corner. Let's talk some fantasy football and look at the waiver wire.
The fantasy waiver wire.
That's a debut of a new transition. Not bad. I like the sound effect there. And hopefully we can help you yoink some guys from your league and improve your teams. We're going to try and hit this pretty quickly here because I could probably talk a little unnecessarily at length about some of these players who are rostered in like 10% of leagues. So first of all, I'm sure most of these are dormant or low membership, low activity leagues. But if you are in a competitive league and it is one of the 28% of Yahoo fantasy leagues that has Daniel Jones available, I implore you, stop it. Stop what you're doing. Add him to your roster. The man is a scam right now. He is a fantasy point scam. He needs to be rostered. He is in most leagues, but if you are in a 28% league where he's not, you got to get him. So anyway, we'll start with number 1 overall ad here, which you can see on the banner below, is going to be not those college football bets, but this. Trey Benson of the Cardinals, as discussed. This kind of breaks our rule as being he's over 50% rostered. He's 52% rostered, but that's big enough, and he's an absolute must-add. Empty the fab clip, blow your number 1 overall priority on him. He might not be available if he is, but after James Conner's ankle injury, he's a must-add. Projected 14.1 PPR points, 64.8 rushing yards, and a 27.3% anytime TD probability. Needs to be rostered across the board. Wide receiver Calvin Austin of the Steelers. He's 17% rostered. He has 2 touchdowns this season, There's not a lot of wide receiver competition in Pittsburgh, so his path to targets is pretty clear. Whether or not he gets them is kind of up to Aaron Rodgers. He likes his guys, but we project him for 9.9 PPR points this week, 2.9 receptions, 42 receiving yards, and 34.3% anytime TD probability. Titans, wide receiver Alec Ayumanor, 21% rostered. I'm actually surprised this isn't a little higher. Touchdowns in back-to-back games and 5+ targets every week so far this season. Look, Calvin Ridley's in Tennessee, but Ayumanor is the wide receiver one. Let's not be deluding ourselves about that. That has limitations until Cam Ward's ceiling raises. But if you're watching these games, if you're seeing the usage, he's the wide receiver one here in Tennessee. Projected for 9.8 PPR points, 3.3 receptions, 43.2 receiving yards, and a 27.9% anytime TD probability.
I got to jump in on Elick real quick.
Yeah,
too,
please.
Sorry to cut you off, but I adore this guy, and using the Dimers Models projections a couple weeks ago, I actually put together an Io Manor ladder play. And I love with these rookie receivers sometimes. It sounds such sicko betting, right? But with rookie receivers that just aren't getting the target share yet that they're going to get at some point this season, you can get some crazy odds. Like Io Manor to get 70 receiving yards was like 16-1 in week 2. And he's 1 to 2 big plays away from doing that. Now, snap count wise, this guy is always on the field. And they still throw to Ridley a lot, but Ridley's hands have let them down repeatedly. I think we're already seeing it merge more into Io Manor as the trusted big play first target for Cam Ward. The biggest issue holding Io Manor back right now from what I've seen is that Cam Ward is all over the place. Now, I think he's a really talented guy. Part of this might be protection-based, and he's figuring out how to make throws on the run. He's got a rocket arm, too, and when he feels pressure, he'll just kind of uncork a 140-mile-an-hour fastball. But Io Manor's hands are the only guy on the team that I can see that can catch those fastballs. So I love him. Again, I'm not betting a ladder every single week. It's matchup dependent for me. But I do think there's a really good shot that by the second half of the season, we're all looking at Io Manor like, oh, this is one of the better receivers in the league, possibly one of the most value-oriented fantasy players, and a guy you can certainly get some big numbers on betting player props-wise right now as well.
Yep. I picked him up this past week, and I started him over Ridley, and it turned out to be about a 5 points better investment. So, yep. Don't sleep on it at all. Please, we implore you. Wide receiver Kevontae Turpin for the Cowboys. He's only 5% rostered as he should be. He's a role player. But now CeeDee Lamb's going to miss at least a game, probably 2, 3, 4. High ankle sprain. It's not something you want to be messing around with. Turpin's got 4 touches on offense in every game and over 50 yards in back-to-back games. He's got special teams upside. He's one of the best returners in the league. Scored touchdowns. He'll get you points there. And as we said, CeeDee Lamb's going to miss a few weeks. So there's opportunity to be had in Dallas. We've got this pretty split between Turpin and Tolbert, but I think it's going to be Turpin personally. He's more versatile. He's the better player, and you get the special teams upside. Wide receiver Trey Tucker of the Raiders, 4% rostered. He has 8 targets and 9 targets in the last 2 weeks. You could do a lot worse on a flyer. Not a whole lot to say about this guy, but 9.4 PPR points projected, 42.5 receiving yards, and 22.6% anytime touchdown in week 4. And I'll give you one tight end here, Brenton Strange of the Jaguars. He's rostered in 25% of leagues. He has 5+ targets in back-to-back games, 59 and 61 yards in 2 games this season. He's gaining chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, who looks a bit of a mess, but they're feeding the ball to guys in that offense. He's a tight end, so not blowing the doors off here with 7.5 PPR points, 32.2 receiving yards, and a 15.6% anytime TD probability. And just a couple names that I'm going to toss out. If Jaden Daniels misses again, you should pick up Marcus Mariota. I wouldn't put in a waiver claim on him tonight, especially because we don't even know if he's going to start, and we don't have projections for him because it's a tentative start. But if you get him Wednesday morning for free, It'd be worth it if you need a quarterback. Like I said, he's got 6 touchdowns and limited appearances with Washington. So you could do a lot worse in a plug-and-play scenario. And one just I'll throw out after I had my notes already together, but wide receiver Tyquan Thornton, games with back-to-back touchdowns for the Chiefs, but Xavier Worthy's coming back. You don't really know what this is going to look like, so wouldn't go crazy trying to pick him up, but he's a guy you should probably have on your radar. If Worthy does not come back this week, then he should absolutely be picked up and started if you are in need of a wide receiver, but don't go benching Jamar Chase because he's got a backup for someone like Tyquan Thornton. I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, so that's what we got for you this week. As far as pickups, you can always use the projections on site, find more. You got till 3 a.m. Wednesday morning to get these guys in. So
Yep.
Do it while you can.
You heard the man. Use the tools at your disposal. In fact, I'm going to put a creative twist on your last name you brought up, Tyquan Thornton. If he is still available in your league, here's my tip of what to do with Tyquan Thornton. Add him if you can. Try and trade him if you can. Sell high a little bit on Tyquan Thornton for me, because as Xavier Worthy comes back, I think there is an expiration date. He's a great streaming option week to week right now, and certainly the guy Mahomes seems to trust the most in that room. But he also had a big drop in that Chiefs game where, not a drop, but it hit the ground, ruled incomplete. One play later, Mahomes went back to him and he made a good play. But I still think there's some inconsistencies there. Kind of reminds me of, you remember big play Demarcus Robinson a couple of years ago for the Chiefs? And he would have these like one superhero catches. It's like, if he ever gets a chance, he could be their wide receiver one. No, it never came together. Thornton to me is a get him. Play him for a week or two, maybe see if you can hit the trade block and get somebody that could help you longer into the season in fantasy. So just my 2 cents to add to it, but good stuff as always, Dave. Thank you very much for that. Now, reminder that you should subscribe to this pod so that you can get this pod as soon as it drops on Tuesdays. We obviously have a lot of time-sensitive information that we're presenting in this show every Tuesday and then Thursday when we bring back the second episode. So hopefully, given the nature of the waiver wire, if you time this correctly, you take our advice on these helpful pickups, you hit it as soon as you can in your fantasy football league, you can maximize the benefit that you could get from this. So subscribe to the pod so you don't miss the moment that this comes into your inbox. Leave a comment, leave a like as well, and help support the show as we continue to try and grow this throughout the football season. That brings us to our final segment of the day, Dave. It's time for our closing segments.
What's on Dimers this week?
What are we looking for?
Yeah, so a bit of a quiet week, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. We're waiting for the PGA to return after the Ryder Cup, which has taken place this week. But we got the WNBA playoffs. It's the semifinals. Only 4 teams remaining. But if you read our value article that I wrote and published back in June, you'd have a ticket on 3 of the 4 teams remaining to win the championship. So we're in a good spot with our Dimers futures. We're watching those play out this week as well. Don't sleep on the futures. The predictions are sweet. We're always finding something in there. It's the last week of the MLB season. A lot of young players and guys getting their cups of coffee in the league, getting their debuts or at least just a few spot starts. So if you're wondering how likely someone is to hit a home run in their late season debut or in a lower key game or appearance, or you just want all of our MLB predictions, we've got you covered. There's a couple of really close division races coming down to the wire here. Guardians, Tigers in the AL Central. Yankees are closing the gap on the Blue Jays in the AL East. So it should be some competitive baseball there, and it could be some insane value if you think the Astros could flip their 3-game deficit into an AL West win. So check out the MLB futures on Dimers. You'll get a little extra insight there. Those will be updating up until the end of the season, and we get our final playoff teams.
Boom. My Tigers are falling apart, by the way. I mean, I'm like visibly shaking as this goes. So can you give me any words of wisdom or optimism, Dave?
No, I can only tell you that the Lions clearly sapped their mojo in an Austin Powers style stealing. So yeah, it's not looking great for Detroit in baseball anyway.
only so much good karma to go around, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, the heartstrings are hurting right now. We'll see. Day to day. Basically 6 playoff games left for my Tigers, though. These final regular season games feel like playoff games, is my point.
They
And
are.
if you're a baseball fan, baseball better. Reminder, we got daily predictions, best bets, props, all of that as well for baseball and every other sport, not just NFL, which was the bulk of this episode. So, Dave, always good stuff, my friend. Always a pleasure being here with you. Reminder, we got our Thursday episode coming out in 2 days. We'll take a closer look at everything we're putting together for Thursday Night Football, including our same game parlay. We will finalize our full cards for the weekend as well. So tune back in. Make sure you join us. Gamble responsibly in the meantime, and we will see you on Thursday.